Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrew Herron. I'm a solution consultant here with Prosimetry, and thank you for joining this webinar today. We're going to go over the project proposals part of Tempus here. And just a quick reminder, I'm working in the 5.1.1 version of Tempus. And so if there are any of you that some functionalities or icons may look a little different, please feel free to reach out to me indicating that you'd like to upgrade your system to 5.1.1. Yes, again, this will be focusing on a project proposals attribute inside of Tempus. It shouldn't honestly take a whole amount of time. However, with it being kind of a smaller attribute inside the system, it is very useful and can be very powerful if used correctly and properly. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Please, a quick reminder, please feel free to, inside of the GoToMeeting, ask any questions, and we can get to those at the end of the training. Okay, so to start off with, a what if or a proposal flag inside the system is a system generated attribute. So under the admin settings in attribute management here, there will be under the project tab, if you scroll down to is proposal. So this is a system generated attribute for projects that you can flag projects indicating they are, in essence, proposals. So now that could be for various business environments, projects that are not yet approved, projects that are in the pipeline but are awaiting funding, things of that nature. But this flag allows you to go in and do quite a few things inside the system here. So again, it is a system generated, so it's automatically inside your environment. You can edit the name of it if you wish as well. So it's normally titled is proposal, but you can actually come in and make an alias for that as well if you wish. But yes, again, found in the attribute management inside of Tempus under the project tab. So coming back just slightly, when I jump into the project management screen, you'll notice obviously your projects here. And I'm going to go ahead and filter, or actually choose a column here and put is that proposal, and I'm going to put that on my screen, indicating of those that are flagged as such. So I'm going to filter on those. You'll notice when those flags are set to yes, and I'll show you where that can be done here in a second. You'll notice on the right-hand side of the screen that there is a proposal logic, excuse me, a proposal logic icon indicating that these projects are indeed proposals or have been flagged as such. So that's an easy way to track those down if needed, or obviously you can do by filtering and so on and so forth. An easy way from this screen to, in essence, create a project as a proposal is when choosing your columns and adding the is proposal flag onto the column, you can simply from this screen select yes or no. And that will indicate that that flag is selected to on, and your purple icon will then appear. When you're inside an actual project, so if I just jump into one of these, and again, I'm using a dummy instance or a dummy version or a trial version of Tempus, and so all of this data is just at random. But if I come over to the attribute screen, you'll notice right here is proposal will be somewhere in your screen. This screen is entirely customizable to each environment, and so mine obviously is going to be set a little different than yours is. But in essence, that proposal, when it's selected to yes, icon indicated here. So again, some use cases for this or some whys behind this. So again, if it is, or if you are looking at a project, or maybe there's a roadmap for 2021, and that planning usually happens around this time of year, or for many of you, this is where you could come into Tempus and have those projects created by whatever means you're working with, whether it's a different system being synced with the API, or you actually come into the user interface of Tempus and create these projects. But in essence, being able to plan ahead and forecast ahead without really knowing, obviously, the names of those resources that'll be on those projects. Obviously, there will be some that will be automatically added to those projects because that's kind of the skill set that they work with, and so they'll be added to those projects. But oftentimes, you're looking at more shirt sizing estimates or taking swags at specific projects and saying, hey, X number of hours for this role or this skill set, and moving forward. So this proposal flag allows you to then go in and really use the meat of the tool in the what if scenario to be able to fine tune and see exactly how that's going to plan out. So in the grander scheme of things, it's not just a little flag that indicates, hey, yes, this is a proposed project, meaning it's not approved yet, or meaning it doesn't have funding, or meaning we're just looking to see if we can actually fit it into our portfolio of projects. It's going to allow you on a grander scale to see exactly where and how that can fit into your planning moving forward in forecasting. So a good best practice, and what I see typically with many of the clients I work with, is these proposals will come in. So for example, this proposal 3 project, it's slated to start in October and go through the end of next year, of October next year. This allows me to then come in and use what we call demand planning resources. So there's also a webinar that's up on our help desk site. And if you don't have access to that help desk site, please feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else here at ProSymmetry, and we can get you access to that. And then you can go over, if you aren't familiar with these demand planning resources, you can go over that information there. But in essence, what these proposal projects, again, reiterating what I previously said, allows you to do is come in and forecast different skill sets, different role-based resources, things of that nature to this specific project that you're forecasting for. So for example, for this proposal, I'm going to need a consultant, project manager, business analyst, and architect. So again, time is represented by hours here, but we can go ahead and say, hey, headcount wise, we're going to need 4 project managers on this. It's going to be a large initiative. We're going to actually have to bring a specific vendor on board because it's a specific software that we're implementing. And then we're going to have some help with some business analyst work, and then a few maybe software architects, right? So once the forecasting has been achieved, or the swag planning has occurred, this is obviously where that would take place. So then you'd obviously go in, check the project out, make adjustments here, and then check it back in. So again, a good best practice that I see quite a bit on these proposal projects is adding these demand planning resources. So this is very useful, again, like I mentioned, for road mapping for the next year, whether it's the fiscal year or the calendar year, but then also being able to go in and long-term forecast, even when it isn't a giant exercise going over a roadmap. If you're only looking at a couple of projects in the near future or even in the distant future, to come in and utilize the generic resources, whether again you have it as a skill set or a role type resource, to come in and forecast. And I'll show you how this will operate here in a second with other parts of the system. Okay, so moving back, once these proposals have been selected or forecasted for, so I have a couple that I've set up here. There's one item before we jump into the meat of it in the go-to Tempus or the what-if scenario that I can show you that might help in the arithmetic, so to speak, of your allocations. So what I mean by that, if I come into the admin settings and then I click on my general settings here, you have this little flag inside the global tab where it indicates exclude proposal projects. Now, if I have that turned on, what that indicates is when there's a calculation inside of, for example, if you use the bulk project allocation in Tempus or bulk project allocation flat grid, those will exclude those proposal projects from those lists inside the system, indicating that they're not going to add to the allocation that you currently have, which means it's not going to give you false readings when you go in to look at those projects or your overall suite of projects, if you will. They will still be viewable inside of the project management screen if you dive in, just like what I did there. If I come into project management, they'll still be in here, and you can come in and make updates. However, for example, if I jump into the bulk project allocation or bulk project allocation flat grid, when I come into either resource or project, for example, those will not show up here in the list of projects, and their allocations associated with them will not appear. The reason being, again, like I mentioned, it's not going to give you artificial allocation readings when you have that exclude proposal project flag set to on. So it allows you to see your true picture here, and in essence, it retains those proposal projects as those planning only projects, if you will. So again, under admin settings, in the general settings, that exclude proposal project just excludes the arithmetic of those allocations in various screens across the system, so that you can plan accordingly without having, that artificial allocation numbers being bumped up. So that's where that is add in the system, and it's a nice little feature to have. So where the proposal project flag helps, obviously, with planning inside the project or inside the system, and you can slice and dice the data through the reports to include or exclude proposals. Really, where it is the most helpful is in your go-to Tempus or the what-if scenario modeler. So what I've done is I've already created a project or a model just titled proposals, obviously, just for this exercise. But what the really nice thing and a great benefit of the proposal process is this little icon down here, this proposal logic. So inside of the what if scenario, once I've created my scenario that I've wanted, and again, there's another walkthrough that goes through the what if scenario that you can reference on the help desk, or other information, please feel free to reach out. You have the option to obviously select your aggregation. So in this case, I've selected my primary role, and then specific roles that I, for example, may be managing. So I'm looking at safety, project managers, developers, and then an analyst as well. So what this proposal logic does is it takes the projects that have the proposal flag from the super grid here inside of Tempus, and it automatically has an algorithm that will put them at the top of your model and exclude them from your model filtering. Now I'll show you what that looks like and what that means. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. So when I click on this and I start to run a model, you'll notice that, like I mentioned, the proposal projects are at the very top of the what if scenario, and they're excluded, meaning these allocations that are on these projects are not included into my current state or my live state, if you will, or even the ones that are planned, that are approved and budgeted, that maybe have not started yet. You'll see all of that information here. So again, those roles that I've selected and indicated in my modeling, the arithmetic or the mathematical equations of all the allocations that are in here are currently not included because that proposal logic was selected to on in my settings. So again, when I go back here in my settings, that proposal logic is selected to on. Now, if it's selected to off, then those proposal projects will automatically be included inside of my model and already be added up and counted towards my current in-flight status of all my other portfolio and suite of projects. So now why this is helpful is then I can go in and select one or multiple of these projects to then see what that's going to do overall for my pool of resources down here below. So the best practice in this instance is to go over to the Delta mode here. So what this does is it's going to show you a before and after of your allocations here. I'm going to go ahead and put interactive update on, so it's going to change straight away once I adjust this. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, so we have our suite of projects here that we're looking at that involve all of these resources here. So we're in projects. So we're going to go ahead and see what, if we were to include proposal number 2, so I'm going to go ahead and include, what is that going to do for our suite of resources? So you'll notice that this arrow has indicated up, as in the allocation has increased for those specific teams. And you can see the before and after when they have adjusted. So all of the squares or cells that have been highlighted have been changed. Those obviously that are white have remained persistent. So you'll see that that indicates, okay, it looks like we still have enough capacity on our team in general. So again, for project manager, if I open this up, it's going to give me a list of all the project managers in the system with their current allocation. So this is a roll-up right here of all of their allocation overall from the team standpoint. So I do have enough, looks like, from capacity from all of the teams that have gone up to indicate that I can actually have this project without either removing other projects or adjusting current in-flight projects to put them on hold or cancel them entirely. So it looks like I have enough capacity to include that. Now, if you're wanting to look at it at a very specific level, so for example, when I drop down for this, let's go ahead and look at safety, you'll notice that my architect that I had allocated to that, my demand planning role, is going to be 0%. So that's going to be bewildering to some. The reason being is these demand planning resources inside of the system that are denoted obviously by the purple silhouette of a person inside of the symbol inside of Tempus here, these do not have capacity. So what they are designed for is specifically for forecasting ahead to show you what need that you have moving forward. So this is showing their net capacity, these resources down below you can see, but the architect remains at 0. So if you wanted to get more granular and see specifically, okay, what were those numbers that the architect was looking for? So right now I'm in time, I can switch to costs or FTE if I wish. So I can drop down and it shows, hey, there's a need for 3 architects, an FTE or headcount during these specific months. And it looks like overall I have, 24 and 25 available to me. So it looks like I'm pretty safe there. So if you wanted to get more granular, this is where you come to the grid. It has a heat map on it. And again, you can switch from time, which is hours, headcount, or even cost. So again, the demand planning resources do not have capacity, and that's where it's indicated by these little dashes. If they're not assigned to a project, then it's not going to show that information. So if I click on this cell, for example, it's going to tell me what specific project that they're currently allocated to, and that's true for all of the other cells as well. So again, if I move back to my delta here, and let's see if we go ahead and let's look at including proposal 1. Let's say this is a very high priority project. So now it's going to have included proposal 1 and 2. So now it's going to show the difference before I have included 1 and after I've included 1. So I can click on this cell as a whole, so the before and after. So now it's going to show me a list of the projects that all of my project managers are currently assigned to and the FTEs associated. So right now I'm in FTE, but if I switch this here over to time, it's going to show me time as in hours here. And I have the capability of coming in and looking at this information to see exactly where this is bubbling up again. So it looks like I'm a little bit over allocated here, but with 5%, I still might be able to get away with including that project in my portfolio. So again, lastly, we'll go and say, okay, it looks like from the majority of the teams here that are included in my model, it looks like we'll be able to complete those 2 projects. Now let's see what happens when we include that final and third proposal. So now we're looking at a little greater constraints here, as we can see just in our heat map. So it looks like May of next year is going to be buttoned up pretty tight here. So you can see that proposal 2 is taking 20% of the utilization that I have available to me. And you can see the remainder of the projects here. So it looks like I'm going to need, because these, let's say these are very high priority projects coming down maybe even from the C-suite. It looks like what I can do is simulate with these X's is excluding these from the specific model at this point, or the algorithm. So just like I included the proposals, I can exclude specific, either these proposals again, or other projects to simulate saying, hey, we actually need to put this Python phase 10 on hold. So I'll click that X, and then it's going to show me a before and after here. So even though it's only showing me a little bit of decrease for the specific project manager, you'll notice that there's a decrease for these 3 roles here. And you can see obviously the before and after changes. And again, one thing with the model up here with this little refresh sign, it's indicated all of the changes that I've made in my model here. So if I wanted to revert all, I can, or just revert that exclusion. And maybe I want to revert maybe proposal 2. So then again, it's going to give me the before and after. So it looks like from this perspective, I'm able to have that information straightway to me to be able to see and make the correct informed decisions on your forecasting with the proposal flag here, indicating that this is something that I can obviously or cannot do. So if I scroll down, these are in alphabetical order. If I scroll down to these proposal projects, you'll notice if I drag this across, so maybe let me turn on my interactive update here. So I'm able to it'll show me before and afters of when I drag this across. So this is simulating pushing this project out. So maybe it's not as high priority as we thought. And if we have a lot more bottlenecks than we originally planned, we can actually push that proposal out, or this specific project, to see exactly if we can fit it in flight. Or again, from this perspective, we can actually come in and exclude these other projects from our algorithm up here at the top, indicating that information. So again, this is the proposal logic inside of the what if scenario. This is largely the best aspect of the proposal logic. Obviously, there are other groupings that you're able to do inside of the system that allow you to have the freedom to forecast at will without really clobbering your allocations inside of the system with other projects and your totals there. Obviously, grouping those proposals together with forecasts in reporting. But the meat of it is here in the proposal, with the proposal logic, being able to say, hey, can we complete this project on time as is, or what changes do we need to make either to the proposed project with their allocations, or what projects can we put on hold or cancel altogether, or even push out to make these projects fit in and work within the roles that we've forecasted. So in essence, that's pretty much sums up the proposal logic. I'm going to go ahead now and look at any questions to see if there were any questions asked. Let me double check here. Give me 1 second. So yeah, it doesn't look like there were any questions. Again, thank you so much for joining. If you do have any questions or anything at all, please feel free to reach out to myself or anyone at ProSymmetry. Again, my email is aherrin, A-H-E-R-R-I-N, @prosymmetry.com. Feel free to reach out. And again, thank you so much for joining, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a good day.